This is my last Sunday of the month. I have 2 chapters to go. So, be ready. All right, we'll be back in Ruth chapter 3, starting in Ruth chapter 3. Make sure. As I read over this, and it's like, how can I combine this? There's a lot in here, some things I want to cover. But we're just going to see how the Lord works and go from there. Ruth chapter 3, starting in verse 1. Here, Ruth has come back and she's been in the harvest for the harvesting with wheat and barley. But in chapter 3, verse 1, and Naomi to her, "My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee? And now is not Boaz our kin, wintereth barley? Wash thyself, therefore, anoint thee, put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor, but make not thyself known unto the man until he shall have done eating and drinking. And it shall come, and it shall be, when he lieth down, that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet and lay down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do." So here Naomi is still concerned about her daughter-in-law that has come and been working to supply for them. She left her family. She left, I like the way Naomi put it, she left her gods. And Ruth said, I want to be with your God. I want to follow your God. And also, they've went, she's harvested, she's been through the harvest, and she tells, basically she said, I got to find you a husband to take care of you. So she tells Ruth to go to Boaz, go at night, and just lay down at his feet. And in verse 6, and she went down into the floor and did verse 5, I missed a verse. And she said unto her, all that thou sayest unto me, I will do. This is Ruth talking. And she went down into the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drank, and his heart was merry, he went and lay down at the end of a heap of corn, and she came softly and covered his feet and lay down. So here's Ruth is doing exactly what Naomi had said to do. And Boaz has no idea she's there. And in verse 8, and it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman laid at his feet. That would be kind of shocking. I mean, I don't like my feet messed with at all, but to have somebody laying there would be and then he's out in the middle of the field on top of that. So, and in verse 9, and he said, who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy shirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast shown more kindness in the latter end than in the beginning, insomuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. I think in here Boaz recognizes chasing after any other man. You're not trying to here. And in verse 11. And now what 31 has a woman way after this. I think that's kind of neat. Running around, she did what needed to be done. And when you do what the Lord says to do, let God bring them to you. You'll get a lot better spouse with a lot less problems. And to me, that's what she's done. She's just done what needed to be done to take care of her and her mother-in-law. So here in verse 12, kinsman, howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning, if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of a kinsman to thee, as the Lord liveth, lay down till the morning. So Boaz said, I'm not the first, I'm not next, but I will take care of, if he doesn't do it, I'll take care of it. And that gives her comfort, knowing that things. To me, that's kind of, I can't wrap my head around all that idea, to have a wife that I'm not, I haven't courted, but I think that's where you look at when God gives you somebody, whether it's like this or others, you'll learn to love them. And even when you do get married, you think you're in love. I mean, there's ones here who've been married many years. I've just been married a few. But I found that I love her more now than I ever did when we got married. But we'll go on. Then verse 14. And she lay down at his feet until morning, and she arose up before one could know another. And he said, let it not be known that a woman came unto the floor. Also, he said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured out 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her, and she went into the city. So here, I think it's kind of neat, she got up before dusk. I mean, you couldn't tell, you could see a person, but you couldn't tell who they were when she left. And Boaz didn't want her to go away empty-handed. She had something with her to go back home with. So here in verse 16, and when she came unto her mother-in-law, she said, who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done to her. And she said, these 6 measures of barley gave he, for he said unto me, go not empty unto thy mother-in-law. Then said she, sit still, my daughter, until thou knowest how the matter will fall, for the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day. So when she gets home, she tells Naomi everything, and I think it's kind of neat. Naomi must have known Boaz pretty good too, because he's like, he'll take care of this today. And that's, it's like, this has got to be done. He's willing to do it. So just sit down. Once God gives you a task to do, you've done it. He's got something else, just sit down and wait on him. But, like Dad said, you got to do what's in front of you. But here in chapter 4, went Boaz up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Oh, shall one turn aside and sit down here? And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and set ye down here, and they sat down. I think it's kind of neat. I think it's kind of neat how they did business. They went to the gate of the city. This is where everybody came and went. So I guess if you're trying to avoid something, you didn't go through the gate, you went around the side gates. But here, he's sitting here waiting. Boaz goes to wait, knowing that this kinsman would come through. And then when he came through, he said, come over and sit down. We need to talk. And then he took 10 men, elders of the city, and had them come sit. That way you got witnesses. And then in verse 3, and he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech's, and I thought to advise thee, saying, buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of the people. If thou wilt redeem it, but if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. And then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the land of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitish, wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead unto his inheritance. So here, Boaz is saying, okay, we've got Naomi's land needs to be bought. And you think about it, he gave all the information necessary. If he didn't want to buy Ruth, he could have stopped it and not give all the information. But he gave everything. He said, hey, this is what it is. Naomi's land, and it comes with a daughter-in-law, basically. So we've got to raise up for the dead. And I just think I guess I need to study that a little more. It just doesn't fit our mind frame as far as the way we do things here and now. And in verse 6, and the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to myself, for I cannot redeem it. And so the kinsman said, I don't want to. I can't. He didn't want to. In verse 7, now this is the manner in formal time in Israel concerning redeeming and consecrating change, concerning change. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. I wonder how long they kept the shoe. I mean, I may think, but you think about it, you go do something, you get home with one shoe, and your wife goes, "What'd you do?" You know? You can't keep a secret when you lose your shoe. But that's a custom they had. That showed that, hey, he doesn't have a shoe. Who has it? That means there's agreement between two people. It's like a written document we have today where we sign it. So the shoe has been transferred. And in verse 9, and Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, ye are witnesses this day. I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Clarion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitish, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead unto his inheritance, to the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. It's kind of a way you buy a wife. I've heard of mail order brides, but here Boaz says, okay, I've purchased the inheritance of Naomi and Ruth, and I'm raising up offspring so that family will not die. It will continue to go on. And then in verse, and he said, okay, you guys heard this. I've done this. Now you guys are my witness. And in verse 11, and the people that were at the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses, and the Lord make the woman that is come unto thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two built the house of Israel, and do thou worthy of Elimelech, and be famous in Bethlehem, and let thy house be like the house of Perez, who Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee and this young woman. I think it's neat here that not only did they be a witness, they blessed them. I guess this was the marriage ceremony, as we would call it today. And I never thought about it, that actually Rachel and Leah were the two women that all Israel was born out of. And then you go back a little bit, there's only two others, Sarah and all. But they blessed them right there. The city blessed them, the elders blessed them. And I think it's neat that they took Ruth in. She was kind of adopted into Israel. She's brought in, just like we are. When we're saved, the Lord takes us and He adopts us into His family. I won't get into all the names and all, but I'll keep going. All right, in verse 13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife, and when he had went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the women said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, and that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a netherin of thine old age, nourishner of thine old age, for thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath bore him. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and become a nurse unto it. Here, Ruth is for a child. I'm going to go ahead and get into this part that I just blew me away. Verse 14, the latter part, that his name may be famous in Israel. We know the future of what's written of this account. They had no clue. And as these people blessed Ruth and Boaz, we know what was coming. They don't. We know the story, their account. We know how the Lord was working, how He brought Ruth into Israel. But not only did He bring Ruth into Israel to be an Israelite, but you go ahead and go down and read. I think it's neat. Naomi took the child and put it in her bosom. She took care of her grandchild. That was a precious thing to her. And they all are. All grandchildren are very precious to all of us. And she nursed it. In verse 17, and the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, father of David. I won't read through the genealogy because I can't pronounce these names. They had no idea of the future. But what's neat is David come from her. And if you look a little closer back in the genealogy, is Rahab the harlot's also in there. God takes who He wants. And He called Ruth, and He brought her in. And not only was she special, I think she was special to Boaz, because he'd seen what kind of woman she was. But in the future, the second king of Israel was in that lineage, David. And if you keep on going, there's Joseph. And Mary's in that line. And that's where Jesus come from. He was born through them. And when those women said the name, in verse 4, that his name may be famous in Israel, he was. Because God had laid His hand on that lineage because Christ come through it. I just thought that was neat when I seen that. This is where our Savior, He came through them, but He was not of them. I don't know how to say that. He wasn't born into their family. That didn't come out right either. I hope you understand that, Christ, when He was born into the lineage, He was God sent. He was not part of them, but yet He was part of them. He was half, part man and part. That didn't come up. I'll just stop with that. I'm messing that up. I hope you understand that. But I thought it was neat when I seen that. And then you wonder, why was the book there? Why was the book of Ruth wrote? That's it. This is where Christ came from. And I think it's neat that how He took, we're all different nationalities. We come from different places. And God's adopted us into His family. Hopefully this is, I've never thought about studying Ruth. But it's been good for me. I've enjoyed it, to think about it and meditate on it. And hopefully